Hello.
I think it's on.
Is it? Yes, it is. Very well. It just doesn't have a light. So, yes, we are here, and our virtual disembodied heads are also in the room already. So let me introduce you to the jury. Here to my left is half of Katja Morand. She has been part of a lot of film festivals, and she is this time joining us here at Fish to talk about the Baltic shorts. Amongst others, she has been part of the programming team at Luststrip Film Festival Basel, the Solothurn Film Festival with focus on Mexico. She has also Mexican nationality, and also worked for the Swiss program at the International Film Festival in Guadalajara, and the Fantoche International Film Festival for Animated Film in Baden. So we're very glad to have you here. Next we have Emily Grunert, who is the local representative, if I'm not wrong, from Rostock. She studied creative writing and cultural journalism, as well as a master's in literary studies. And she is the cultural manager at the Peter Weiss House. For those who know Rostock, you for sure know the Peter Weiss House. And works as a film journalist in editorial department, production design, production department for short films and features. So welcome, and thank you very much for joining us. To the left of Emily, we have Theresia. Oh God. Crone. Who is our, you are the representative for the Sustainability Award. Is that correct?
I think it is, yeah.
Do you want to say something about the Ostsee Stiftung?
Yeah, so the Ostsee Stiftung, or Baltic Sea Foundation, I guess it would be translated, decided to sponsor an award this year for a movie that somehow features problems or solutions concerning sustainability, sustainability in a broader sense, I guess. So it's also not only about ecological problems or issues, but also about social injustices and climate justice in general.
Cool, thank you. And she is also, as you already heard, as well as being part of the future council of the state of Mecklenburg-Western Pomerania, as they would say in English. She is also a columnist for the Schweriner Volkszeitung, and she is engaged as a climate activist. And then to her left, another of our virtual members today is Laurence, who I do not find here. No. Okay, I'm going to shortly go to Sebastian Apel, because this page already came off and I'm probably going to lose it. Who is...
Story of my life.
Yes. Who has worked for the Berlinale, the Kurzfilm Festival Hamburg, the Open Eyes Film Fest, the International Short Film Festival in Marburg, and is a curator of the Nordic Shorts section of the Nordische Filmtage in Lübeck. That makes, I think, you the most qualified person to talk about Baltic cinema in this room. And Laurence, I have lost the page where you are, so do you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Laurence Rilly. I'm French. I'm working for Arte.
I'm working for Kurzschluss Court-Circuit. It's a magazine on Arte that is now more than 20 years old, and it's broadcast every Saturday, and we show a lot of short films. We show two or three short films a week and middle-length film in French and German, and we have short films from everywhere in the world.
Thank you very much. I now found another program and have it here again, but I think you said it better. So shall we start talking about the films?
Sure.
What do you think if we go to the first film we watched, Lunik 1, film about a speculative moon crash landing that happened before the one of the Apollo. Does anybody feel the need to start?
Well, I can start. I have to say I'm a sucker for some nice space or moon action, I think. And somehow this is another film where cosmonauts tend to act more funny in existential crisis than maybe their American counterparts. It's just an observation. But I have to say I rather like the looks of it. You already asked the question if it's real, the cosmonauts, or are they animated? I wasn't so sure about that as well the whole time. And yes, I think it's, like I said, it's funny how these cosmonauts act. And at some point there's this breaking point where one of them copes with this existential crisis. And I have to say I would have liked to see more of that, somehow also aesthetically, but then it cuts off too soon. But still, I enjoyed it.
You want to say something, Emily?
Yeah, I actually liked that the film was able to deliver the humor without having access to faces, mimic, gestures, and it still worked in a really good way, I think. And I kind of expected, because there were cosmonauts on the moon and everything was quite existential, that there would be more long, meaningful conversations. And actually, they had a lot of casual chit-chat on the moon while dying. So I think that was quite funny in a good way.
Yes, I think the CGI was really impressive. As you already said, it was hard to tell what was animated, what was partially shot in front of a green screen. But what really surprised me was that in the interview afterwards, we learned that this is a movie about loneliness. Because that didn't cross my mind, actually. I looked at the movie and I thought about existential crisis, and I thought about historic events and how we see that. For example, the first moon landing is like a big event that I talked about in history class, and my mom was actually born on the 20th of June, and so... it's an event that I kind of grew up with as this big historic moment. And then in this movie, we see an existential crisis, but somehow it feels not as historic as it was or is. So the change of perspective really challenged me somehow. I don't know if I can express it appropriately, but maybe it's something that you have to think about a bit longer.
Yeah, but I can understand it, but I kind of like the fact that he said he wanted to make a film about loneliness. And there are so many settings that are way easier to do or to manage. And he chose to do certain challenging setting to make believable for the audience, because it can look so funny or not in a good way funny in such an easy way.
I also love the dance moves.
Yes, I was also thinking about this loneliness thing, like exactly in the moment where the phrase comes, we, like, us two are the loneliest people in the universe right now. I was thinking like, well, are you though? Because you are too, right? Like, so maybe just like someone in a cabin in Norway is like way lonelier if they're just like alone. But anyway, I digress.
Sorry. I think that was also like a quote from the third guy who was with Buzz Aldrin and Armstrong on the Apollo 11 mission, and nobody remembers his name like me right now. But I think he was the loneliest man alive because he was in the shuttle thingy around
Yeah,
the
like
moon.
not on the moonwalk.
Yes.
Yeah. What about Laurence or Katja? Let's say Laurence. If not, it's confusing.
Okay, thank you. I found it very interesting because I think there is a great question about who owns space. And I found this kind of play with the Russian were first on the moon and things like that. Quite approach these problems that we have now to know who owns space. So I found that interesting, and then I had a kind of flash when one of the cosmonauts falls. I was thinking of Jerry, the film of Gus Van Sant, where two best friends went lost in the desert. And it begins, it's really fun. They are laughing and things like that. And after a while, they realize more or less that they are lost and that they are probably going to die. And I had this kind of sensation. And yes, I found it was a very great film. And I'm very happy. I have to say I'm very happy to be here jury in this festival. I found the films were really great, and I'm very sorry not to be with you physically. It would be a pleasure.
Yes, would be really nice to have you here. Katja, how was it for you?
Yeah, well, first of all, I also have to say I was completely shocked when they said it was all CGI, because I was also trying to figure out how did they do it. And for this also, they had so many incredible details, like reflections in the helmets and everything. So I really believed their story, their narrative. And what I also particularly liked was, I mean, it started out in a very dramatic way. It started as almost like an action movie, but then somehow they shifted into this comedy genre. And that's a very hard thing to do. And I think they managed that very well also, because it showed us, okay, they don't take like the science fiction part like too serious. They're not trying to tell this big epic science fiction story, but rather be playful with it and try to tell us a funny story. And yeah, they had a lot of camera angles, which I really appreciated, like trying to capture somehow this story on the moon. And yeah, I also found like how the tempo of how it was narrated, it worked really well. But I also agree, like the ending was a little bit abrupt. Somehow it was like, oh, it's over. Because I was like really into this story, so I really liked it. I liked the whole blog. Actually, I'm still very agitated. It was really great.
Yes. Yeah, I think definitely I would watch some more, like a longer version of this story. The only thing that I have to say I'm completely confused and puzzled about is after learning that it's all CGI, because my first thought was, okay, they shot some stuff in studio, so that's why there's no like this kind of like zero gravity simulation, because that would have maybe been too expensive. But knowing that it's all CGI, I'm wondering a bit like why was there so much gravity? Like I still cannot wrap my head around it. If you have like this possibility to just like move the pixels around. But yeah, I was also like then like not understanding this whole dance scenes, because I was like, yeah, of course, if you're already dressed in this cool cosmonaut suit, like you want to like bust some moves to like, because it looks cool. But if it was actually like none of it was there, and they're like, now we're gonna spend like some serious render time in like making some dance moves. I mean, I appreciate it because it was very fun to watch, but I was also like really puzzled, like, wow, someone really was like, we need to have this like 2.5 minutes of dance moves. But yeah, what do you say if we go to the next movie from Norway, Man-Made? Also, I keep looking over there because sometimes there were like the dials coming up when this was not online. So I'm like, yeah, where's my visual cue? It's not there. But yeah, Norway, also a kind of deserted landscape and two people hanging out. What were your impressions?
Shall I start? All right. The funny thing was that by watching the images and listening to the conversation, I already thought this is a conversation that could be a conversation with yourself, because that is very typical that you think about, like, did I ever realize everything is man-made? And when she said in the interview it was actually inspired by a conversation she had with herself, I thought that it was really interesting to then choose to make this conversation a dialogue and not a monologue. And it reminded me somehow of a content creator I saw on social media, and she does those short clips where she talks as two persons, and one person is clearly her brain, and she always takes conversations she has with her brain and makes them visual. And it reminded me of that, of visualizing thoughts in a very creative way.
Yeah, I also got that that vibe of like the me and myself conversations. I was also well, I just noted it as like the only kind of like, because I really like this setting. I like how she uses this. I mean, it's pretty much, I mean, it's 3 shots, but like the film itself happens pretty much in 1 shot. And I had to think of this book that, like this screenwriting book that has a chapter that is called The Pope in the Swimming Pool, which says like, yeah, if you ever have to have like an exposition scene, like there's just a scene and nothing really happens, but there's a lot of text that needs to be said, just like have it be said by a pope swimming in a swimming pool, right? Because then it just becomes like the action itself becomes like this. So I had to think a lot of this, because you're just like listening to a conversation that does sound a lot like something you're having with yourself, but you're watching them just like roll these snowballs and like preparing to build a snowman. And I was like, yeah, okay, that's actually pretty well, like it remains interesting visually, but like it still gives you like some food for thought. I thought that was very clever.
I think it's also pretty nice that she relied on the dialogue she wrote, that it just, it's captivating, even though we don't have a change in scenery, we have no change in the camera angle, we have only 2 protagonists, and the metaphor is pretty clear. By building, we're growing the snowballs, we're growing the conversation, and and they also, of course it's man-made, but I think it's quite nice to see that can be enough when you write a dialogue, that it's substantial and efficient in what it's saying and asking the right questions, maybe.
Yeah, I also thought that it was very well executed, the whole imagery ping-ponging from the left to the right. And it's also really efficient to do this little lesson into something like constructivism, I think. And I think it's a good film that sets off a discussion you can have after it about it with someone else. So
Or with yourself.
or with yourself, yes.
Yeah. Katja, do you want to?
Yes, I can add. I mean, usually I get pretty easily bored by those kinds of films, but with this one, I didn't. I really liked it. I felt the dialogues were really authentic, as you already said. But it somehow, I mean, I'm very conscious about my surroundings now, so it somehow got to me. And also what was really striking while watching it, that actually I think 3/3 of the whole image is the sky, and then 1/4 of the, what did I say, 3/3? 3/4 of the image is sky, and then 1/4 is actually snow, which are both not really man-made. And then you have like these little people crouching also in this image of things that are not man-made. So I really liked also that this part somehow is humorous and the complete opposite of what they're telling us. So that was really cool. And yeah, the ending also made me laugh. And yeah, I think that's also a really good example that you can tell a lot with very little footage. So that was really nice.
Yes. Well, and now we have to go to you, Laurence. You are muted, I think.
Yes. I have a lot of screens around me, so it's quite difficult. And I have nothing to add much more. I found the image was really nice. There was this kind of rolling, and I was thinking about humans and about everything, like a Sisyphus a little bit. Yes, I found it funny to end with a snowman. Actually, I was quite surprised to see the ending, and yes, I'm scared of snowmen. I mean, also, it's more like horror films. So I have nothing to add, nothing intelligent to add.
Okay.
I have one more small thing. One thought that really struck me and that I never realized as like an existential thing is the thought that even if there's nature, like untouched nature left, that it's because we decided to leave it untouched. And that man-made also includes the negative of man-made. And I don't know, but this is a thought that I never saw as clearly as in that movie because of this metaphor. And I thought that it was very creative.
Well, thank you. So let's go to the next movie, which is Catharsis. The director was not here, but yeah, this movie about the Any first thoughts? Let's start with the virtual partners this time, to not leave them always at the end. Laurence, would you like to start?
Wait, I'm looking for my notes. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. What about you, Katja? Would you be ready to jump in?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, this movie was giving me some serious Black Mirror vibes, so I enjoyed that. It was, yeah, I think it was a great idea. I wasn't sure at first what this metal thingy was about. I'm not sure if I got it right, if it's against something about against anxiety or trying to be a productive person or something, but it somehow felt like it's a very current topic of our society, that you have to, you need to somehow a stimulation or take medication or whatever to work in this society. So yeah, I liked also the retro look it has with the DVD, and the color palette was, I think, beautiful. It was very depressive, but really, really nice. It worked very well with the whole film. What else? I wrote a lot of notes. Yeah, I liked how the movie played with architecture and technologies, like visually incorporated in this film. I thought it was really, really nice. Yeah, and for me, I don't know what you think about this, but for me, somehow the message was, you have to work through your emotions instead of taking medications to work better in society or whatever. I'm not really sure, but I think it's something like this. I really, really liked this woman, mother or non-mother person, like the farce of their marriage. And yeah, I just really liked the overall movie. I really, really enjoyed that very much.
Are you ready now, Laurence?
Yes.
Cool.
It's a kind of genre that I really like, this kind of dystopic genre that you sometimes find in Russian movies from the 80s. And it's really something that is quite interesting because you can put a lot of humor and you can put a lot of absurdity in it. And I found there was a very good équilibre
Balance
between all these elements. And yes, I found it was a very interesting film. And the topic also on technologies and how rhythm can sorry, my English is so bad. Yes, how rhythm can cut any kind of emotions, and I think it was also a very nice message to film and to movie. I'm not sure. I would have loved to hear what the filmmaker had to say about it. But is he doing a camera again with old junk that he finds in the poubelle? Is it that?
I'm not sure. I know that it's her. It's CD. She made the film, but we have not talked to her, so I would not know. Do you want to?
I think it was a lot to take in this movie. So I really loved the first part of it, like the first 3 minutes when we get introduced to the woman and also to the weird machine that keeps on. We keep following in the film. But I think it's the kind of movie that you have to watch like 2 times or 3 times to really understand what every part of it is meant to mean or to tell you. Yeah.
Well, luckily I've seen it a few times now. No. I really enjoyed the world building in this film as well. I think it's very intriguing how it somehow escapes alternative or dystopian future. I don't know. And Katja, you already said it. I think it's really about how society wants you to be a certain way, and that the cute old man got it figured out, and that you need to, well, also let your emotions flow sometimes and give them room and space where they belong, but also whenever they need to. And I really enjoyed the feel, the atmosphere of the film. It felt like an old Twilight Zone film or something, but have this little campy feel to it. I really enjoyed it.
Yes. What about?
But Sebastian, do you know what he was building? What is this old man building out of the junk?
I think you put this thing to your head and it pulls out your anxiety. So he feeds this anxiety into that machine and then projects this anxiety into the films they watch. And then everyone can feel sad and angsty.
Okay, I have to see the movie again. So,
What about you, Theresia?
So I really like the whole Black Mirror vibe. I enjoy that type of dystopian or utopian maybe visions. But for me, the movie was less about technology and more about the rationalization of emotions, making emotions commercial almost. I mean, this is not a joke. I know people that have crying as part of their schedule. Like they schedule time to cry. And this shows how crazy our society has become in suppressing emotions and in making crying a point in your schedule and not like as something that as it should be something spontaneous.
Yes, this is definitely.
Sorry.
No, but it's true. Like this is definitely one of the things that the film makes you think about. But I think we're a bit behind schedule, so let's go straight to the number 13, Floating City, cruise ships experimental film, somehow invading the atmosphere, the landscape, the city. What were your thoughts about it, or could you start?
Well, I have to say, I have to thank the pandemic for stopping cruise ships. I think that's a great thing. The film is very, very easy somehow. It's efficient in how it just gives you this great scope of the ship, the big cruise ship, which is bigger than all the houses in the city. And it doesn't really show the people, only in masses. So, it's a lot of people going into this thing, driving somewhere or shipping somewhere and then go some places and then back again. And I think I would have liked it if it would go on after this 2.5 minutes, I think it was, and tells me the opinions of these people taking part in these weird cruise ship things. But for itself, the film works great. Yeah.
I also think it's quite cool that you can establish the small town as a protagonist and the ship as the antagonist in like 2 minutes. That you have you need 10 seconds to understand the premises of the film, which is nothing negative when you're doing a film with such a strong opinion, I think. And it also had kind of an interesting way to show the harm or the suffering or the damages of cruise ships without telling too much or showing too much. I think they overdid a bit when it comes to sound. That was a bit much, but I like that it worked just by all the associations you have when you see these pictures. You know them, you've seen them before, you know what the people are telling you when they would talk about the situation. So I think it's a great little glimpse into this small town life.
Yes. Does any of our online collaborators want to jump in? You can make a hand sign if you want. If not, I will give it to Theresia. Yes. Okay, Katja.
Yes. Yeah, just something small. I somehow felt, there's been some cruise ship films around, some documentary or experimental film targeting this topic. At some point, I wished that they pushed it a little bit further. I don't know, because I think it also started out, or is great with this huge, immense ship and then this little town. I was looking for something a little bit more. I don't know. I really enjoyed it. I also like that it was black and white. I think it made it look, more surreal. But I wish just for a little bit something more, a little bit of a push more into, I don't know what direction, because I know it's hard. But I was longing for something more, something extra.
Can I jump? Yeah, I agree. For me, somehow, a second layer was missing. Something either to show the effects of the pollution caused, or somehow to make a connection to something else that isn't as obvious. But I really like the imagery and the visual audio connection and the whole thing as itself. Yeah.
Laurence, do you have something to add, or shall?
No, nothing to add. No.
Very well.
Perhaps I would have liked a counterpoint with inside or outside. But yes, it was simple, very short, and yes, perhaps another layer would have been great.
Yes. So that means we come to the last film of the first block, Crucifixion, a very long short film from adapted from a novel, An Outsider, a kind of criminal thriller, psychological horror thing. What does any one of you want to begin, or shall I point like randomly at one of you?
I mean, I can start. I'm sorry,
Okay, Katja.
because this movie it really agitated me a lot. I don't know in what kind of way. You cannot say positive or negative. Like the director said, everything in this film is about, is it true or not, or can you believe it, or what's his memory, blah blah blah. So I also went through this crazy ride of, is he a bad guy? Is he a good guy? Is blah, blah, blah. But I was also getting those secret hints he was hiding everywhere. So for me, it was really a hell of an emotional ride. I was fascinated by that. I was fascinated by the actor's face, especially towards the end, where with the black background, I was like, okay, wow, this actor has an incredible face. It was such a creepy movie. And instantly from the beginning, I felt very uneasy, which is, I think, what this movie is about making you feel uneasy. So very, very well succeeded in doing that. I wrote so many notes. I somehow still wished it was maybe also the woman would have been a bit more of an active role, because it's about rape and killing, and how the woman doesn't have any. It could be any woman really, but I wished for her to have a more active role. Also, the moment where everything freezes, I was not sure if it made sense for me, or if it was more for the effect. So at this point I was like, okay, maybe tone it down a little with the effect, because the whole scene in itself was very aggressive in its calmness somehow. So yeah, I really liked this movie, but it also drove me crazy in a positive and negative way. So thank you for this movie.
Yeah, basically I felt the same way. I still need to process it, I guess, also. I think this film really took you backseat driving. You don't know really what is the reality of it all. You are watching this ambiguous narrator narrating his, sociophobic, and also I think you call it incels. And you are wondering at some point, will he break into like bad behavior? And the film doesn't give you that, which is somehow great, but somehow I don't really feel good about it as well. I don't know. And like you said, Katja, it didn't comfort me at all with these freeze-timey things. And I thought, well, the victim is just being victimized. She has no voice. It's like part of the film. It's treated like a feature, but I don't know how to feel about it. So, like I said, I still need to process it, but it certainly left its mark.
Indeed. Anybody else want to talk about the mark it left or didn't?
I think it's. I think you really, you really feel that it will be a feature film because there are too many elements, and for me, they don't shape the main character enough. There are too many elements from his history when he was little, from his colleagues, from his professional life. Perhaps sometimes less is better. I don't know if I'm very clear with my experimental English.
No, yeah, less is
But
better.
I found it was a great movie. It was a great movie with a lot of creativity and a lot of very good ideas and very nice pictures and scenography and things like that. There's no problem with that. I just think that you really feel that there will be a feature behind it. Voilà.
I kind of feel the same way, I guess. I felt that I just wrote down captivating and appalling at the same time, and I think that's you can tell by that. But at the same time, I needed like 3 to 4 more minutes at least after the crime, because I would like to have seen him being kind of torn apart or kind of not sure what happened. I would like to have seen more of his inner self after the crime to see if it changed anything or if he has no way of dealing with it because he can't really figure out if it happened. So it just the conclusion came too fast after the misleading part of the film.
Yeah, it was a lot. Oh God. For me, the thing that struck the most is being on the other side of the objectification. You know, I somehow know how it is to be objectified, but I never thought about what the hell could be going on in the mind of a person that sees a person but somehow doesn't see a person. So yeah, it is a movie you have to think about more, but that is just the one thing that really, that I was left with.
Yes. Well, thank you very much, all of you. Unless someone has like something like really pressing that they want to say about this or any of the other films, I think we can call it a day.